A hot holiday weekend in Curtis Bay made hotter.
I went outside to drink myself a beer and I see all this smoke.
Second alarm unit, station 41.
July 3rd on Hazel Street.
They're in one spot just pumping water through the windows, cutting holes through the roof, trying to get, air flowing, water in there.
One home turns to 2, 3, 4.
I saw 5 earlier in the back. They were in fully flame. And now there's about 9.
10 houses on fire by 3 o'clock.
They're probably done, the whole block.
Oftentimes, when people are running away from the fire, our members are the ones running into the fire to first save lives and then make sure that we protect the property.
Firefighters fight fire and smoke.
It's smoky and then the eyes are burning. Going right where you're going.
But they also fight the summer heat.
Hot, yeah. 500 degrees or more.
In the shade, residents like Paul Burrs can only watch.
Dee's house, Michelle's, Matt's, everybody's house is gone. We're done. We're finished.
Paul's is the red house, 4 from the end.
But I just lost $100,000 plus. And my mother's dream. And I don't know anymore. I fought for 35 years to keep that house. I finally got the paperwork that says it's mine, and now I lost it again.
In Curtis Bay, Paul Gessler, Fox 45 News.
It's the most horrific thing I've ever seen.
Just can't, man. I don't understand it.
A palpable sense of loss.
The smoke, the fire, it was everywhere.
It was an explosion of glass across the street that caught Robert Spetzer's attention just after midnight.
When I got halfway, the flames was already, you couldn't get nowhere near it. It was pushing you back. That's how much the heat was.
Katie Malone and 3 of her children escaped. 6 were left inside with no way out.
And you could hear the kids crying. And right there, it hurt me. Because I tried my best to do something, and I couldn't. I can't say myself as a hero because I didn't do nothing.
A feeling he'll never forget.
I just couldn't. It was just too much fire. It was too much fire. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I tried, man. I couldn't do nothing.
And I have to go to the hospital and tell that mother that 6 of her babies didn't make it. I can't imagine. I was holding out this hope, but.
All day, crews continued to put out hot spots. Heavy machinery cleared debris as careful hands searched for the children.
It's hard to say anything other than to pray for the family.
A shattered home echoes the pain of a shattered family. Joy Lambert, Fox 45 News.
Okay, we can start anywhere in here and work our way over.
Thank you for your sacrifice.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your sacrifice.
Thank you for your service. We are here today to celebrate our fallen heroes.
Memorial Day means to me a day of remembrance.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Today is that day that we celebrate all that we lost in the wars.
We're putting pennies on their graves to remember them.
Thank you for your sacrifice.
Whoever visits their loved one and sees this penny on the tombstone, they will know that someone else cared and came to visit to pay their respect to their loved one.
Thank you for your sacrifice.
If you see a nickel would define that it was a person that served with your loved one. A dime would say that they served in combat and was with them when they died.
It's for Memorial Day. It's a day of remembrance.
We come here every year to show that, hey, they're not forgotten, and that we really do appreciate what they've done for our country, for us to live the way we do.
And if we teach our kids young, then it means so much more when they grow up. It gives it a meaning to them.
And this is a legacy that I see my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren carrying on forever.
Heads up. Thank you for your service.
You gonna finish this row? Thank you for your service.
He have pants like mine with a green jacket on, with some skinny pants, and with some gray shoes on his bottom.
They have described me to the T.
I want this to be about remembering those that came before us and gave us the freedoms that we enjoy today.
We all have served in the military. Some have retired from the military, but we all have that common bond. Everyone here has been a part of me, and me a part of them.
There is a sadness blanketing Baltimore.
Fernando Raleigh.
McKinley Williams, 53.
Kathy Coon, 63. They're not statistics.
Alfonso Watson, she's 38 years old.
They're sons and daughters.
27-year-old Brandon West.
Brian DeShield, 47.
Homicide victims so far this year.
Rich Chester, 66.
Ronald Rice, he's 29 years old.
This is a city right here, got so much death.
Carlos Montgomery.
Stephanie Wisner, 29.
Markel Scott, age 19.
That's the bad part about it, it's kids. It's not the grown-ups, it's the kids that's dying. The graveyard is more full of kids than us.
As of Monday morning, 151 homicides in Baltimore.
Balitmore.
There's a lot of kids that's out here in these streets that's going to gangs.
From out of the sadness, many offer solutions.
We need to get some more rec centers out here, instead of building jails and stuff like that.
Don't do drugs, bro, like real.
It mess you up.
What you doing.
You gotta want better for yourself. You feel me? At the end of the day, you know right from wrong.
The majority of victims were fatally shot, but getting the guns off the streets is not easy.
This would never look like this, never.
Gregory Jones.
Anthony Long.
Powers. Kathy Coon, 63.
Brandon West.
Alfonso Watson.
Brian DeShield.
Troy Horton.
Another young life, 30 years old.
In West Baltimore, Kathleen Cairns, Fox 45 News. A city sheriff's deputy is not always a welcome sight. But Donald Rubottom
Good to see you.
is different
How you doing this morning?
on these streets.
The uniform, we pay that no mind.
Well, take care.
He's a deputy who delivers bad news in a good way.
He locked up?
Yeah, he locked up.
Okay.
Yeah, he one of us. Yeah, he care a lot about the community.
Hey, well, y'all have a good one here. All right, gotta go finish working.
For years, he's been tracking down addresses in Southwest Baltimore and handing out court summons to strangers. A tough job he handles with dignity and compassion.
He got my vote if he ever run for office, that's for sure.
You should run for governor, too.
But delivering one civil summons led to a big surprise.
I asked the young man to get his mother. His mother came out. I placed the paperwork in her hand.
He nudged me saying, look at his nameplate.
She looked at my name tag and she asked me,
by the way, are you related to Daryl Rubottom?
I looked at her and I said, yes.
I don't know nobody else named Rubottom.
The next thing I know, she looks at her son and she says, say hi to your uncle.
Well, that's your nephew. You know what I mean? And he was like, wow. And then he was stunned for a second.
I was floored. I had to do a Michael Jackson moonwalk and take a step back in my uniform. I had to take, I just had to take a moment. Everything just stopped.
It's a moment when a mystery dating back 13 years starts to unravel.
My brother passed away in 2004. He was in a truck accident. After he passed away and we went through his personal belongings, we found this baby picture. And we didn't know whether this child was from Maryland, DC, Delaware, Philadelphia, wherever. We just didn't know.
That one picture.
I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who his mother was.
It's haunted Donald and his mother for years.
We never could find out who this young man was.
I was happy to meet finally somebody on my father's side.
It went from professional to personal in a heartbeat.
God got ways, and he set this up for a reason.
Not only did I gain a friend, I found a nephew who was in my backyard after all of this time. Glad that we found each other.
Yeah. I'm glad too.
Yeah. I'm not gonna look up at you. I'm just looking in the chest.
The search ends, but the journey for Devin has just begun. A quest to discover more about one's DNA.
I can't wait to meet my grandmother.
Say hi to your grandmother.
Hey, grandma.
Oh, this is wonderful.
An embrace that erases lost time. It's a family reunion long overdue.
God is good.
In a home surrounded by family photos, this grandmother will now have to make room for one more.
God is so good.
It's where a young man discovers his heritage.
That's one of your brothers right there. That's Katri.
And finds happiness.
This is a blessing. This is a very good blessing.
In Baltimore,
You got family.
Kathleen Cairns, Fox 45 News.
Oh, I love you. I love you.
Between the cornfields of Washington County and the foothills of the Appalachians is Clear Spring, where people feel lucky to live.
Oh, I got a Yahtzee.
A town of about 400.
Oh, I love it. You know, everybody's really nice. Everybody's always smiling. Everybody waves to you.
Come on, nickel. That ain't a nickel.
But even an all-American town can't stop big city problems from rolling in.
There's a drug problem in Clear Spring.
Kevin Simmer spent decades policing streets in and around Clear Spring and raised a family here.
Now you're locking your doors and you're locking your car.
Gun ownership runs as deep as family here.
A lot of people have guns. They feel safer with them.
There's not a house in this town that doesn't have a gun.
The Ruger P89 handgun, 8 inches long, 1.85 pounds. A gun able to hold up to 16 rounds. In 2014, a 9mm like this one, along with 3 other guns, went missing from a home on the outskirts of town. And we found the owner of it. He didn't want to go on camera out of fear he could become a target again. But he did talk with us off camera and shared his story. He believes the gun was taken during a burglary at his house and then driven to Baltimore, where it was traded or sold for heroin.
This ended up being a family member who I believe ultimately stole this gun and sold it in Baltimore.
Small town drug addiction, driving big city crime. For 2 years, the stolen gun from Clear Spring seemed to go underground, but it resurfaced with a bang here in Baltimore, linked to 4 shootings in less than 12 months. 3 happened in West Baltimore. First, it was used to shoot 2 people inside a car. 10 months later, a teenager shot in the leg. Within weeks of that shooting, the gun riddles a woman's car with bullets as it sits at a traffic light. 5 days later, this happens.
4931, shots fired, shots fired.
In February, 18-year-old Curtis Deal ran from Baltimore police. That gun from Clear Spring was in his hand. The one that 3 years earlier disappeared in a home burglary some 85 miles away. A gun Curtis Deal begins to raise when a police officer shoots him dead.
These guns are passed around from person to person, from criminal to criminal.
A Bureau of Justice report showed that between 2005 and 2010, 1.4 million firearms were stolen from private owners. Last year alone, the FBI says more than $155 million in guns were stolen across the United States.
It is a prized commodity.
On Baltimore streets, guns like the stolen Ruger can sell for 3 times as much as the original owner paid. The force driving that enormous markup.
The narcotics fuel the demand for the firearms.
It all goes together. The theft, the guns, the robberies, all that stuff is intertwined. The common denominator amongst it all, I think, is drugs.
In this case, the trail of the Ruger stolen from Clear Spring ended in southwest Baltimore. The whereabouts of the other 3 stolen guns in Clear Spring remain unknown. Joy LaPola, Fox 45 News.
Going to camp. It's been a summer ritual for generations.
So just one beat, let's go.
Really good music.
They're just 11.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a kid's rite of passage. One Sophia and Madeline didn't want to miss.
You don't feel like you're all by yourself in the world.
Not alone, at least at Camp Open Arms.
Yeah, our arms, they are different. Right here, I am missing a bone.
Brave.
It's called the radius.
Bold.
I'm missing that.
Courageous.
I'm just missing fingers.
Two girls who now share a profound companionship.
I was excited because she would be here too.
This is Camp Open Arms. This is our 3rd year of doing this, and this camp is for children with limb differences.
Limb differences. Some can be corrected, some cannot. The camp is designed to remove the usual boundaries these children may face, and everyone here has a story.
One's big, one's small.
Shauna Shaja had surgery.
They took skin and put it in on this hand.
This is a place where differences don't make a difference.
Because it's fun.
Parents appreciate the connections made too.
It gives her an opportunity to come here with the other kids who have some significant limb challenges and interact with them. And that's what they all have in common.
A common emotional component as well.
Really, we teach them how to deal with coping skills and how to respond when they're asked questions.
Here, they're not seen as disabilities, but different abilities.
I always find a way to do it.
This is the 3rd year the camp has been held, and it's creating lifelong friendships. With Maryland Moments, Kathleen Cairns, Fox 45 News.
A lot has happened in the past 5 minutes, Kai. I want you to take a look up there. You can see they set a Cadillac on fire, some sort of an SUV. The fire department came. I'm going to take a look down here. I'm grabbing our equipment. We actually ended up somehow behind the police line. So we're in a safer location. You can see police are exchanging things right now with the crowd. We're going to bring you over here. I will make sure that we're a safe distance away. But you can see right now, people are climbing trees trying to get away from the police as the police have moved down the street and tried to clear the crowd away from that fire while fire department is here trying to work on it. In the meantime, the crowd has been throwing things at police officers as well. Take a look right there at the corner. Over here where the police line begins, you can see a brick that was thrown at the police officers. Yes, we're leaving. We're going to go down this way. I've got you, Christine. We're going to go through this way. Now we're on the other side and safe. You can see the fire department is arriving to help put out the fire in that location. Police continue to line the street. This has changed quite a bit in the past 10 minutes. We were actually up there at that intersection just 10 minutes ago when that fire erupted. Then the officers started moving down with SWAT gear. They've exchanged. They are trying to maintain control of this crowd at this location. We keep thinking that it gets peaceful again, and then they move us back again. Pepper spray has been used here. But once again, things have been thrown at the police officers who are in riot gear at this location. We've seen bricks, we've seen other things thrown here as well. But this is a very tumultuous situation right now as protesters and police take sides on this street. You can see some of the folks are moving up this way, Christine.
Back up, man. Back
Yep,
up.
I'm moving. Right over here, I can see. Some of the protesters are putting their hands up in the air as they talk back and forth with police. And police are maintaining their line right where they are. So there's a lot of media here, a lot of protesters, a lot of people trying to see what is going on. But again, lines have been drawn after a big fire right here in Washington, D.C. Back to you, Kai.
2 miles northwest of Baltimore City Hall.
This is the ground where everything took place at.
Some at Penn and North feel little has changed since the unrest nearly 2 years ago.
It's always the same words.
Thursday morning, an announcement heard throughout the city.
As we've mentioned, the consent decree was filed in court this morning.
Yeah, this is going on now.
A consent decree. Court-ordered changes to Baltimore City Police.
It's changed, yeah.
This document
represents the citizens of Baltimore well.
Oh, God. It's so crazy to say. They say reform, I just want to see reform. Well, reform had to come for you to do your job. Those who they find out that wasn't doing their job need to go because they ain't going to change their ways.
These concerns addressed downtown by the Attorney General.
And we have no illusions that change is easy or that it comes about overnight. But Baltimore's also been honest with us.
It's been going on too long. I've been living in Baltimore all my life.
Job training programs and stuff. These young kids come out of school, can't even read and write.
Despite the changes city police say they've already enacted, some say stress here remains high.
Every day. Every day. Tension is still in the air every day because look at the police car right there.
If you're gonna start it, then stick with it. Go all the way.
We need change.
In Baltimore, Paul Gessler, Fox 45 News.
You got it, keep going, keep going.
It's 2 words every Naval Academy plebe waits to hear.
I'm just trying to survive. Sea Trials 2020.
Sea Trials.
Totally. We're waiting for this all year.
The culmination of a year of hard work.
Their ability to work as a team, overcome adversity.
In order to become second class.
Hey, butt down!
The class of 2020 must overcome 14 hours of this.
Everybody go get wet. It's a nice day out, thank God. Run!
And this.
Run. Sprint, let's go. Get wet, get wet, get wet!
Oh, plebes get wet.
Go for it.
And depend on each other to make the pain as bearable as possible.
This station specifically is supposed to be a measure of their tenacity in an uncomfortable environment.
It's going to make the rest of the day pretty long and uncomfortable.
Let's go!
The exercises, of course, take plebes to the water.
They all have to paddle at the same time. That's usually how the team wins.
Seeing the energy that they have as they move between phases and just their general interactions, like they're having a good time and they're loving it.
But sea trials are played out on land, too.
Hey, 2 logs and 1 log, 2 logs and 1 log.
Some obstacles are timed.
There you go, good work.
So plebe teams can compete for the title of Iron Company.
You can't do it alone. Everybody's out here as a team, and they're going to need to depend on each other today.
We all built a bigger bond than we already have, which is something special, and we're going to have that for the next 3 years.
Oh, fun!
The trials are in their 20th year.
They're going to really lose the drive and the motivation, and the goal is to keep up the level of output that they're giving us.
By hour 8,
keep pushing.
Exhaustion begins to set in.
I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
It's clear sea trials are as much a mental exercise.
They've had a full year to prepare for this.
As physical.
Like we always worry about, the next class coming up, like, they're soft and not as hard as we were. Like, no, like they're still putting it out. They've got a good attitude about it.
This is how second-class midshipmen earn their rank.
Oh, totally ready. It's been a long year, but I think we're all ready to move on.
In Annapolis, Paul Gessler, Fox 45 News. This Pasadena home was a guy's house before last year.
I have my 2 daughters, but there was no landscaping.
That's when Luis Rosa got remarried.
And there was no pretty flowers. There was no patio furniture.
The Iraq war veteran watches from his kitchen.
What am I most excited about? I'm excited about that fire pit. We call it the Ranger TV.
Outside, volunteers from Home Depot and 6 vendor partners landscape Rosa's yard.
Helping the veteran out, doing a whole bunch of work around here.
A whole bunch of work, from pressure washing the house and deck to building a walkway and patio.
For 8 years, I've had a large portion of my house that I couldn't get into, that I could not enjoy. Just reaching out. It's just right there at your fingertips. But you can't do it.
Rosa is going on 10 years now as a triple amputee. He's deaf and blind in one eye, but he sees the gift out his back door.
They'll never know how much this means.
We can do barbecue now.
Rosa's mom can picture the fire pit before it's complete.
Gonna be here, gonna be awesome.
You're talking about an individual that gave up some of his freedoms, sacrificed more than most all of us will ever understand.
The project is the latest from the nonprofit Truckin' for Troops.
It's not about me, it's about other people that you can help. I think that's one of life's lessons.
About 90% of the work will get finished Tuesday, leaving more time for Luis's newborn daughter, Vivian.
It is complete. This is great. This looks like a home.
Once a guy's house is now turning into a family's home. In Pasadena, Paul Gessler, Fox 45 News.
It's a rainy July night in Baltimore County.
95 on the hour loop by Lock Raven in Providence.
Joseph Roberts is just a few minutes away from his girlfriend's house.
There was nobody at the intersection as I got there, nobody.
But then,
and I
I see headlights.
The caller was involved in an accident.
And then all of a sudden, he's there and I'm there.
The driver behind the wheel is a Baltimore City environmental police officer who, according to this accident report, was on his way to offer backup to state police.
MSP is direct on it.
Who were short-staffed.
I know they were short already.
He didn't have a siren on.
The officer's Silverado was hardly damaged in the collision. Investigators deemed Joseph's car undrivable and called for a tow truck.
The police insisted that they tow the vehicle.
Joseph says the night of the crash, he was told it was the city officer who was at fault. An accident report we obtained also says that. Joseph thought everything would be taken care of by the city. And before long, his car would be picked up from the tow yard, repaired, and then returned.
I just want things to be taken care of, and that's that.
In the meantime,
that's all I was looking for.
He'd get to school and work by whatever means possible, even if that meant he'd have to walk.
It wasn't until a week later I was told that I was solely responsible for getting my car, and then by that point the tow was already at a point where I couldn't afford it.
And the longer Joseph's car sat at the tow yard, the bigger the bill became.
It was $411, $611, $1,475.
He says no one from the city would return his calls.
No one has cared. No one's tried to help.
As fear began to set in, little did Joseph know just how high the odds would be stacked against him.
And I don't know at the end of the day if I'll even be able to recover my vehicle.
Money earned at work went to hire an attorney.
I worked very hard, to get my car, and then I've only had it 4 months and it was taken away from me. It wasn't through anything I did.
Joseph didn't have full coverage insurance for his car, just liability. So had the accident been Joseph's fault, his insurance company would have stepped in. But remember, that wasn't the case. It's been more than a month.
And I've gotten no answers from anybody.
I can only imagine how difficult it is for a layperson going at it on their own.
David Ellen is a medical malpractice attorney. He's not involved in Joseph's case, but he has handled one similar to it.
Your paperwork falls into a black hole when you submit it to the city of Baltimore.
Ellen says the city has 6 months before it's even required to respond to a claim. But here's the real rub. After 30 days, if no one has paid to get a car off a tow yard's lot, the car becomes the lot's property.
The people at the tow lot, they won't even allow me to get my school books.
Since that interview, the clock ran out, and Joseph's car is gone. He's not getting it back because it belongs to the tow company. We sent a series of emails to the city's law department and the Department of Public Works, the agency the environmental police officer works for, to find out exactly how claims filed with the city are handled. It's information the city guards closely. We didn't get a straight answer, so we took our questions to the top. Public Works Director Rudy Chow sits on the city's spending board, which meets weekly.
I'm going to step in on this one.
Jeffrey Raymond is a DPW spokesman.
Accident involving one of the environmental police officers.
According to Raymond, the accident is out of the department's hands.
The county is investigating what happened. I mean, we can follow up after that, depending on what they find. Right now, we need to let the process play out.
But according to emails and records from the county, that process had played out. Its investigation closed weeks ago. As we continued to search for answers on our own, we found city policies that show within 24 hours of an accident that involves a city car or worker on city business, an internal accident report has to be filled out. The city considers the form so important, workers have to keep copies of them in their glove compartment at all times. We requested a copy of the reports workers filed over the last year, but the city denied our request. Without access to those records, it's difficult to know how often city workers are getting into accidents, how severe they are, and exactly what's happened to those who've been hit, like Joseph.
At the end of the day, I'm still responsible for the loan that I got to be able to get my car, and then now I'm paying the loan for a vehicle I don't even have.
In Baltimore County, Joy LaPola, Fox 45 News.